Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the third season of the Week in Review from the Voiro podcast. Kavita, 2022 is almost at a close. How do you feel about that?
Relieved.
Relieved?
I'm absolutely relieved it's over. It's been a horrific year. But when we're going through the motions of the year, I didn't feel it was that bad. But I'm looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God, how do we survive it? But I'm also looking forward to 2023 because I feel like we're exiting this year stronger. What about you?
I agree. I think 2023 is going to be buzzin'.
My God. Is this one of your new vocabs that you've picked up?
2023, I learned this week that 2023 is when Gen Alpha turns 14. So Gen Z's time is done. That's it. Nobody cares about Gen Z anymore, which means we have to learn how to speak like Gen Alpha.
Which is this? Buzzin.
I think buzzin is Gen Z. I think I have to learn some new. I barely caught
I
up.
don't think Gen Alpha speaks. They only text and then they drop all their vowels and then you
They
can
just roll their eyes.
Yeah, just roll their
That's
eyes
it.
and say Slade. for
Slade. This year, I'm going to be using words like bussin', low-key, legit, no cap.
Okay, good luck to all of us and everybody listening. I think you should have like a glossary to...
I have the glossary, but I just cannot pull it off.
Why?
Because I can't use
you're
these
not
words.
Gen
Because it's not
Alpha,
English.
man.
Because it's not English.
You're not Gen Alpha. I think you should embrace... What Gen are you anyway?
I'm a millennial.
Oh, man.
But I'm at the upper end of...
The millennialism.
Yeah. So even...
So you're cooler? Or you're more obsolete? What is it?
I don't know. I'm bussin'.
You're bussin'?
No. I'm sure that's wrong.
You know what's buzzin' actually is this whole hoo-ha over PMax. I mean, it's a very unfortunately named product.
PMax.
Yeah, it just sounds like something that, it's a more medically recognized term like PMax, right? What do you think about PMax?
I have for some time now believed that in the entire debate around first-party data and privacy and advertising, there are two parties that actually don't care. One is advertisers who just want performance, and one is users who don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
PMax seems to be like a total black box. I'm trying to understand it a little more, but it sounds to me like advertisers are getting what they want, and maybe there's a market.
There is, and I was reading this article on AdTech as well on PMax, right? And it's not a privacy product. It's a black box, all right, but it's result-oriented. And so advertisers are like, well, I like it at the end of the day. And there are a lot of issues with where the ads are appearing and, sort of on what part of the funnel they're kind of tracking them against their own branded keywords. So they feel like the return on advertising spend is almost being gamed because these people, whoever they were targeting, would have anyway converted. And so it's looking like it's far more efficient than it is. But at the end of the day, nobody can actually point a finger at why they don't want to be at, in this whole PMax thing because it just works. And this is something that we were talking about on the quote unquote, it just works, right? Even with Voilo's products or even like we went and researched on a whole bunch of self-service platforms as well in the past saying that why is it so difficult? It's not like I need to put in all of this data to set up a small campaign as a small advertiser. So I think PMax is a good way. It's the future. It's one of those things that it's a mindset change. Sagar Shah, who's one of their PMs, was commenting on it. He said that's the biggest thing that actually he's fighting against. It's the whole mindset change, saying that you really don't need to know where your ad appeared as long as you got the result. And Google has these cool things where, even if you had a horizontal video, they have automatic tools to be able to convert your horizontal video into a vertical one so that you can appear in their YouTube shorts. And they have been really generous and trying to figure out wherever you can appear. But that's irritating everybody because they're losing control. And so when you lose control, you always have a bit of mistrust. I
feel like TikTok set the bar for better creator tools and everyone has to follow.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you in line with PMax is, I know that today we are going to break down some of our favorite 2023 trends, but there is a 2023 trend that has always been your favorite, which is CTV.
Yes.
What do you feel about where CTV is headed?
So I know internally in the office, we've always had these arguments about it being just another targeting parameter. It's not such a big deal. Maybe it's a big deal, but we don't know how big a deal it is, etc. But then there is the other side of the entire TV space that actually is getting a fillip on how their content is going to be getting out onto the largest screen in the house. Now, I know you have an argument about this saying, what is a TV, right? And
I've always
so
wondered.
let's say this is the largest screen in the house at this point in time. Traditionally, if I was somebody who's creating content, for me to find my way to the largest screen in your home, I would have to jump through so many things that are regulatory. It could be, there was no ease of access. There was a barrier to entry. Like today, if you and I were producing a show, how do I get a television network to pick it up and then put it onto their broadcast cables and for that audience to watch? It's a huge, long, convoluted space. Back in the day, YouTube was the way. If you created content when capturing of content and creating videos was simple, it was no longer about getting a huge camera. Our phones had cameras, or we had, Cisco had this point and shoot camera as well.
Yeah.
And our software on our laptops and desktops were easier for us to edit content. And then YouTube came around and said you can host it and people can find you and stuff like that. So broadcasters who were smaller, who were lower in the value chain as well, were putting up all of this content and finding niche audiences through YouTube. Now, that was still on your laptop, it was still on your computer, it was still on your phone, etc. YouTube now is available on the largest screen in your house. I consider that as CTV. And if you're watching content on your largest screen in your house, that could have been something that was broadcasted and you're able to pull in content via the internet on this largest screen, it technically is in the CTV space. But the fun that is happening in CTV is this whole electronic program guide, the ability for people to create homogeneous channels and put that up and have appointment viewing. You could just, I can see this happen, right? You have a children's programming channel where you have beautifully created children's content, and you know how children watch television. They're like in a trance. There is no, okay, the show is over, let's
You
move.
might also be describing me on a Sunday.
Yeah, yes. Most of us are in a trance. So, but at least, when you're watching content one after the other, if you have a curated view of what's coming up as well, it's literally like you can just leave someone in front of the television and let them go into a content overdose. But
someone on Twitter the other day put a photograph of a newspaper clipping from the late 90s, I want to say.
With the program guide?
With the program guide for Star World and Cartoon Network. And I remember there was a time when Cartoon Network used to end at 5 p.m.
Yes.
And become TNT, which I used to hate. It was really boring.
Yeah.
But this was not a throwback to simpler times. This was just saying, hey, electronic programming guides can offer a similar flavor. The first 2023 set of predictions I was reading was from The Current, which we talked about last week from the trade desk. And I followed that up with a video that you had shared on Slack where the Publica team was talking about how to process the transition into CTV, because it is one of those things that's a little gray. The definition of CTV. Someone said, and I giggled at this, they said, we all forget that the year of the mobile took 10 years to actually take place, and we're probably seeing something. And so last year I said this is the year of CTV, and this year again I will say this is the year of CTV, right? Because that is the transition we're making. And I like the way you described it, right? The largest screen in the house was not fed from the internet for years. It was fed from broadcast and then from cable. And so the folks who had access to the content pipes were broadcasting companies, operators, massive media conglomerates. The smallest screen in the house started off with user-generated content. And now it's like everyone can do everything because the pipes are becoming common to both. And therefore, the idea of what is a connected TV, what is a TV, is starting to take a very interesting shape, and it seems to differ across geographies. Ciarán O'Kane from ExchangeWire and First Party Capital famously said, outside the United States, connected TV is just YouTube on a larger screen.
Yeah.
Because YouTube has live channels. YouTube has VOD, or video on demand.
We saw the other day, they have curated genres, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Is this the year of CTV? Yes. But I would take it in that same flavor as saying this is the year of mobile, which took a good decade, but we sure as hell transitioned. There will be some definitions that shift around. But I think the truest way to describe it is that all of advertising will soon be data-driven.
Data-driven, yeah.
Data-driven. Paul Gubbins from Publica also said on that panel, he said, I don't like the fact that the word linear is used to mean traditional. He said traditional is traditional, but with scheduled television and fast channels being delivered over the internet. He talked about how in London he walked past a giant billboard that said, "Stream for free." And that's basically what it is. The world of linear meets internet enabled devices meets connected TV is basically stream for free. And there was an ad for Pluto TV. And he said, that's what people want. And he also said this other very interesting thing, which is, he said, all these buzzwords don't matter to consumers. For whom everything is just becoming better. Everything's becoming connected. The TV is becoming better. I can watch scheduled television, VOD. I can record it. I can watch it later. I can share it. I can push it out. I can tweet about it. Everything is just getting better. So the buzzwords don't matter to consumers because they will adapt to the easiest, slickest behavior.
Yeah. Speaking of linear, right? And thinking of you and how you also devour all of your shows and all of us in this room as well. The minute you find a show, you're like next episode, right? You're on that track. You're linearly watching one after the other. You're not going to say, oh, how can I get to something else that can be a part of this experience that I'm watching? You're like, what happened next? So I feel like even that linearity of the way even human beings actually interact with content that they like is something that you're laughing about how you're... Get it out.
because I read this joke the other day which perfectly describes me, which is when you binge watch back-to-back episodes in a linear-esque fashion, there is this blank screen in between episodes where you get to look at yourself
Yeah.
and think about your life for like 3 seconds before
Yes.
the next episode.
And then you're like into it all over again. I agree. I do the same thing. I mean, sometimes my Saturdays are just a blank because I've just gone one after the other on some episode or the other. The fundamental aspect is that because we're able to stream it, because it's available as a full episodic a binge instead of coming one by one, it's still something that we all lean into heavily. Also, some of the shows like HBO shows, etc., I really follow them on schedule. Like I know that Monday at 9 a.m., unfortunately in India, White Lotus was releasing, but I knew that at 9 p.m. in the night I could go back and watch it. It would be something that I would sit down with my husband and watch the entire thing, and so did you. So it was something that we really sort of leaned into. Similarly, cinematic releases as well. We're seeing that cinematic releases are just like going through the roof in terms of the kind of experience that they're providing. There's no longer just going to be some 2D show about some great story that I can find on Netflix or Prime or any of my other channels, but it's like an experience in itself. I know Santosh put up Avatar's ticket. Yeah, what is it? 1,500 rupees.
I finally caved.
You came?
I'm going on Sunday
Oh,
and
lovely.
I'm watching it. And I tried to convince my friends that if you're spending that much, it has to be IMAX.
Yeah.
And I had no takers. They said, oh, no, but like Lido is closer.
Yeah, because it's 1,500 base, because you have to pay after that for the popcorn and the other condiments that you pick up and then everything else. So it's going to be an easily like a 4,000 to 5,000 rupee hit, right? Which is...
Might as well be IMAX then.
Yeah, but with 2 people, it's ridiculous. It's like going to a fancy restaurant to eat. But I'm saying it's an experience, right? You're going to come back out of that talking about Avatar. You better juice it because every party we need to hear, what did you think about Avatar at the end of the day?
I'll tell you on Monday. But I'm deeply disappointed with everyone around me who's overridden my decision to...
It's an experience. It's an experience.
Yeah. Before we get into some trends, and I want us to go back and forth and agree or disagree on the trends. Speaking of theatrical releases, the other year-end piece of content I consumed was Peter Kafka's episode with Lucas Shaw, both of whom have very nice newsletters on a weekly basis, which I would highly recommend, where they talked about day and date releases. And I learned that movie going peaked around World War II. I did not know that it's been on the decline since then. I'm not sure what metric they use, but I'm sure there is a metric that has declined. But they were talking about the fact that there is this new normal where theatrical experiences have to cater to a certain type of audience, because you're not fighting against people who are willing to wait it out. Because like me, like there are movies I've skipped because it wasn't on IMAX, and I'm not going to watch it. I'd rather watch it at home on my connected television, which is also a fun experience. But they were talking about Avatar and kind of next year possibly being the year where we will know if theatrical releases have really gotten destroyed.
I'll ask you a question. What are the top 3 movies that you remember in the last month, and what's going to come up in the next year that you're looking forward to in terms of theatrical releases? What is the first thing that you remember? It's like,
Oppenheimer.
there you go. It's going to be one of those things which is going to like transport us into I don't know where.
Yes.
But it's going to be one of and we are already watching behind the scenes and you're all waiting with bated breath. There's so much build up towards it. I'd spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
I'd spend more.
I would even spend it for Avatar, but
You did, didn't you?
I did. I
Okay.
have. Yes. Bitter point.
Well, that's. I mean, I'm sure you'll have fun.
Yeah, of course.
Will
Yeah.
the seats move?
No.
Okay, I mean, I thought it was like
I'm going to like Lido or Rex or one of those like.
one of those other IMAX things. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what was your question on the theatrical thing?
My question was, so what Lucas Shaw and Peter Kafka were talking about is they were saying that next year is the year when we can truly say that everything should return to pre-pandemic volumes. And if next year theatrical volumes decline again, it means there is nothing for them to hang on to,
Oh, pressure.
other than accept the fact that streaming and the streaming wars have well and truly like put a thorn in the theaters side.
Yeah, I think it'll pick up, but it'll also consolidate. I disagree with them, if that's what you're asking me to do. Agree or disagree?
Yes.
What are you disagreeing or agreeing?
No, I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And my data point is myself. Like,
Yeah.
as much as I would love going to the movies, the nice screen at home with a cozy little environment in your house is for me competition.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we have to take a closer look at is where theatrical releases actually will start picking up, right? So in countries like India or emerging markets where homes are small, many people live together, you really don't have the ability to entertain yourself in a way on the large screen. You have to share it with other people or watch what is commonly liked. I feel, why are you laughing?
I remember Kavita's husband who once said, "Don't look at the same part of the TV that I'm looking at.
Yeah, because the TV was small, yes. And we went and bought a larger
Look
television.
somewhere else."
We were 4 people who were watching it. He said, I feel like everybody's watching it at the same place. I agree. But I'm saying that, if you look at smaller households, that's what most emerging markets have, right? We have a huge belly of a population that who are like 2 or 3 families living together. People may be on their phone. So the mobile way of watching content in India may not really change as much. But movie going may still be something that will happen. But you'll have to figure out how do you get to that tier 2 cities or villages, etc., where you're trying to introduce them to the concept of movie going in a scalable and affordable manner. So maybe like countries like Africa and India and all the other emerging markets, maybe we'll see a flip there. Maybe we'll see something increase
Possible.
over there and we'll stop focusing on Hollywood releases on, Hollywood Boulevard or wherever else they have it. And we actually do stuff that is local. And we may see acquisitions there. Maybe theater companies will start acquiring local companies.
Possibly.
Could be something.
If I have my way in 2023 and I get that 85-inch TV, I'm not going to the theater too often.
I don't think I'll ever get out of the theater. I think one of the things that I really like is the ability to shut yourself off, right? Otherwise, at home, you're always either answering the door or somebody says, get me some water in the kitchen also. You're like, why? Why me? Like, why can't you help yourself? Or like one of your children will get bored and get onto their phones and you get irritated because, hey, this is supposed to be family
It's a
viewing.
good scene.
Yeah, a family viewing time or whatever. So I feel like that being locked in and sharing an experience together but really not really getting each other's face is something I look forward to.
Given we are moving to a new office building
Yes!
next week,
I'm so excited.
I must give a shout out to the building that we are in, which
Of
used
course.
to be one of Bangalore's oldest theatres.
Yes, it is. So WeWork that we are in right now used to be Galaxy Theatre. And the last movie I saw here was, I was telling you this, I saw it with my dad. And it was a movie called Beetlejuice.
Okay.
And he took me across to Corner House to have their Death by Chocolate. And so I have very fond memories of this building.
I think my last movie here was Titanic, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
It was a while ago. Which, by the way, celebrated its 25th anniversary this week.
Nice.
And James Cameron put out a scientific study that proves that 2 people could not sit on that door.
Yeah.
And so Jack was meant to...
Meant to die anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Time for some predictions, and I want to know if you agree or disagree. I read one.
There's no clock. There's no
2
clock ticking.
No clock ticking.
Tick, tick.
There are 4 sets of predictions I read, and I have handpicked some of my favorites from them.
Okay.
And I'm going to run past. The first one is Evan Shapiro, not Ben Shapiro, his newsletter. Here are his predictions. First, Apple's giant pivot into ads will be complete, and they will bundle everything together under Apple One and make a lot of money.
Yes,
Yes, agree?
agree.
I agree.
But they will downplay it because you don't want anybody to know about their ad tech and try to ask questions because it's an important wedge between what they're doing and what they want to do. And it'll be a small but very important part of it. Just like Google doesn't want to talk about their ad tech. They both are going to be surreptitious about it, but it's going to be big for them.
I agree with you. Two, there's a lot of things he's talked about when it comes to Microsoft and the string of pearls. But outside of his prediction, I want to specifically ask you, do you think the Activision Blizzard King acquisition will go through?
Yes, it'll go through.
It will?
It'll go through and there will be some kind of landmark judgment that will come about that will be a precedent for any other.
I think that it will not.
Oh, damn it.
I
think
think
it
that it
will. I
will
think
not. So
Microsoft
let's
will
see.
use it. You'll use it to push something through.
Yeah.
I want it to happen. Just by sending all my good juju.
I think that it will not. Microsoft is now the summation of all their products, and Minecraft, LinkedIn, Xbox, Game Pass, Xander, possibly Netflix at some point in the future.
Which is what I read the other day as well.
So I
Do you
don't
think, okay, do you think Netflix or Activision? Which one?
I think that the FTC will not allow them to acquire Activision, and that will put out a signal to the market to not attempt massive, large-scale acquisitions because it'll burn a hole in your pocket and you still might not be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
As bad as it is, it might stunt some of the acquisition processes.
Okay, I'm going exactly the opposite direction of you.
There
Come
we
on,
go.
let's see what
There we go.
happens.
He says, do not be surprised if Google puts out a large television of their own.
What do you mean, like a device?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 100%. I
So
mean, we did
Google's
that with
foray
Google
into
Pixel,
CTV.
right?
Yeah.
They have it, so why not?
Yeah.
I'm sure that they have the chops to do it.
I'm sure. Next one, I think
Okay,
no-brainer.
do you think that Google will do it by buying another company or actually just extending whatever they have on Pixel to a larger screen device?
I don't think they'll buy another company.
No.
They don't want to
Okay.
get into this mess, no. Amazon will continue to grow their ads platform and chug along.
Yes, chugga,
Yes,
chugga,
agree.
chugga.
Yeah. Okay, next, I'm going to go to Scott Messer, who's an AdTech expert, whose LinkedIn post I'm going to link in the show notes. One, the economic wrecking ball will move everyone towards fiscal responsibility, growth, and a focus on return on ad spend.
Of course. We're seeing this even with fundraising, right? People are looking at your bottom line. They're looking at how much cash you have in the bank. It's no longer about burn and grow. It's about the realities of business. How good a business and how solid a business are you?
I completely agree. And
Agree.
businesses of all sizes.
And I'm so glad this has come back to this.
Yeah. I think the fact that money is not going to be easy for years will result in companies having to behave a different way, valuations running very differently.
And people behaving differently as well. Even
Yes.
employees and why do we work and what are we doing? It's not just going to be something that we're doing for love and fresh air. It's actually for driving hard value.
Yep. DCAS, deal curation as a service. This is an interesting one. Where he talks about the fact that publishers will seek more, and this is closer to our industry, not the internet at large, where Scott says that publishers will seek more DCAS in lieu of carrying expensive direct sales teams, especially during periods of budget contraction, because that's an easy way for them to access premium, high margin, guaranteed campaigns.
Yes, DCAS, which is
Deal curation.
curation as a service. We will see agencies dissolve and maybe spin this out because they have both these partnerships running. And we will also see this as part of the consulting companies doing something like this as well. Because it's a win-win for both parties. Also because of GDPR, privacy concerns, etc. You really need to have a
More control.
connect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one is, of course, our PMax, our favorite, right? And then the other one is DCAS.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's definitely going to be a
Speaking
thing.
of PMax, there's a related bet that Scott makes where he says, here's quote unquote, supply optimization regardless of path. So he says, more than just a popularity contest, these decisions will use elaborate understandings of bid streams and business outcomes to justify what media is worthy.
Yep.
This goes back to something I've always wondered about, which is there's a lot of premium pricing on the internet today that's actually just reach. It's actually just branding. It's nothing to do with performance. With retail media networks, with what Twitter is trying to do or maybe should do and is not trying hard enough, the shift towards more performant spending is actually going to ask uncomfortable questions such as, is it worth spending on the Super Bowl? Is it worth spending on IPL? Yes, you get premium spot and large reach, but do you actually get performance? It's kind of what he's hinting at, right? Understanding bid streams and business outcomes to justify what media is worthy. Supply optimization regardless of
Sounds like David Zaslav has gone to everybody. It's all about just, is it performant or not? Cut it. I don't want anything prestige coming my way because it's not worth it. I think it will happen, but then there will be some amount of friction towards it because, see, at the end of the day, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to start putting a very specific price on ROAS. And the premiumness of this will only be defined by the density of either the bids or the demand for it. And this period where people are kind of, undecided or in two minds about it, and we also have huge marketing teams that are driving these kinds of results and are questioning things like things that they assume, saying that these people are organically already coming to our website and they will anyway convert. So targeting them on a cheap level and getting that conversion doesn't make any sense. These are still very behavioralistic things that they have set up for over the years, while Google's ML is looking at it extremely empirically, like you just said. So it could depress prices, in my opinion. It could really depress prices, which means, and also cut out jobs. So there could be a lot of disruption. It's good for the advertisers, it's good for consumers, but that entire engine in between that was making this happen really has to figure out life now. How does that actually affect them in terms of second order effect, and how do they make themselves relevant? Because then otherwise, then again, there will be an over-reliance on a black box that is Google, which is taking us back to what everybody was fighting about 3 years ago.
100%.
So,
100%. I
we
completely
again have
agree.
history
Yeah.
repeating itself.
Yep. He says this is the year of data collaboration. He said clean rooms and other technologies will help aid this activity. But he says, and I quote, marketers should prioritize, meaning pay extra for, working with publishers who will share back data with them. Publishers should wheel that data feed access like a velvet rope into the direct sales lounge.
Oh, fancy.
Fancy.
I think so. See, direct sales at the end of the day is guaranteed. It's something that's not going to fluctuate.
Safe.
It's safe. It's usually premium. It's high value, and it's solution based, which means it'll be large buys.
I have to plug Voiro in here. It's something that we've always believed in. That programmatic is a great enabler, and it's something that you must have in your wheelhouse. But if you can optimize and push as much revenue as possible in the direction of guaranteed, direct, high quality relationships, then you're setting yourselves up for the right kind of growth.
Yeah.
It's sturdier, it's built on a good foundation, it's a stronger relationship. But a lot of publishers believe that direct sales is expensive and it's hard. And if you'd like to change that, then give us a call. We'll show you how it's done. But we do believe that when it's done right, when it's done efficiently, it unlocks massive value.
Thank you for
publishers.
listening to us. This is sponsored by Voiro.
Yes, of course. I mean, who else is going to sponsor it? Okay, coming to the next set. There's a guy I follow on Twitter called Ciarán O'Kane.
Yeah.
Tweets some very interesting things every now and then. There's two predictions he made. One, he said, Facebook will somehow bounce back.
Hey, they just got their accreditation after 2 years, and it's come just in time after some abysmal quarterly results. So yes, they will bounce back. I just was speaking to somebody else who was pitching some growth marketing thing to me, and they said, you must look at Facebook. They're quite performant. And I was like, what, really?
Yeah.
I don't even go there. I don't even go to Facebook. Do you?
I don't. But
I go there only for
Instagram,
I just go there only for Facebook is Meta.
Meta.
It's not Facebook
Meta.
anymore.
Yeah, so I think he's talking about Facebook.
Okay.
But yeah, this is one of those things that I have not seen. Most other 2023 predictions have a lot of overlap. But the two that I found were really unique. The three was Scott Messer, Ciarán O'Kane, and Voilo's white paper, which I will
Come
also
on,
just
Lena.
throw in there. Ciarán's second prediction is he said TikTok will get banned in the US. He said 2023, it's going to happen.
Yeah, but TikTok is apparently not bothered. They're setting up a new business software and they're getting that rolled out. Like there's a competition to Outlook, to Slack, etc. under the ByteDance company.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh, no! Don't do it.
They've targeted. Look, it's a long game. It's a long con, in my opinion, right? They've got this alpha gen or whatever hooked on a TikTok, right? They have brainwashed them. Now these people are going to finally, at some point in time, get to some kind of working environment. So then they're going to provide them with tools that are similar to what they have gotten used to. So it's a long game, man. I've got to hand it to them. They don't seem to bother about
But do you think they'll get banned in the US? Do
Nah,
you
I
think the
don't
Congress will pull it off? I
No.
think they will.
So if you ban something like that, do you not think there's going to be precedence for anybody else trying to get their goods and services into the US? They have to be really, really careful.
Yeah, but they've been angling for it for a while now.
Maybe they'll give them they'll give them some tighter like restrictions and regulations, but I think there will be a lot of opposition.
I met my friend Prani, who was down from the US the other day, and he was talking about, he hasn't been to India in a while, and I didn't realize the number of things I was telling him that India had banned, and he was just like, what is this? What's going on? TikTok, in my opinion, will get banned in the US. I think they'll do it. Long-term repercussions, precedent aside, they've been trying to do it for a while, and I'm sure because
Yes, India's done it anyway.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
it. Just got to
it's a
do it.
huge political signal, though.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do?
My last favorite trend-setting piece of content was Voiro's white paper. Please download it, and I will be, of course, pushing it out onto our social channels, and as with you this week. 5 very interesting trends that I think are all spot on. The first one is, while the broader shift to the importance of first-party data is going to be defined in 2023, we will also see the rise of contextual targeting, which ties into what Scott was saying, supply optimization regardless of path. Context matters, and that defines what is and is not media that's worthy of spending money.
Agreed.
I think 2023 is going to be huge.
Who are the people who contributed to our white paper? We had Abhigyan Shekhar, we had Vikram Chande, and we had
I'll tell you.
who else? Yeah.
We had
Jayesh.
Jayesh Ishwar Moni from Spectra Global, Vikram Chande from Samsung India, Abhigyan Shekhar of ex-Viacom and Star,
who's now a consultant.
who's now a consultant and one of our industry's most interesting thought leaders, in my opinion. These were the 3.
These are 3, and then you weighed in with your travels.
I throw my
You're
opinions everywhere. Yeah,
anchoring the
yeah.
entire thing. Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You have to not give me a microphone if you don't want me to talk. So,
But thank you to everybody who contributed to the white paper. And as always, we want to hear from everybody on what they think about the white paper, what they think on the trends. And if you want to join us on this podcast, drop us a line. We'd be happy to bring you on board.
the 4 other predictions on the Voiro white paper were connected TV. Of course, this is the year of CTV as part of
My
a
heart is
5-year
just
trend.
swelling with happiness.
Yeah. If you accept my broader definition, we will get there faster, or maybe we're already there as per my definition. All I'm asking is you remove that screen size parameter, and we're
Oh
there.
my
We're already there.
goodness.
This is going to be the year where direct sales makes its way back as being important as being something that's should be a part of your repertoire. Retail media networks are going to define themselves this year. 2021, in fact, in 2022, the year when we saw a lot of activity, acquisitions, partnerships, technology investments. I think 2022 was the year when these partnerships kind of took better shape, and we'll start to measure a lot of value. I think that a lot of folks will catch up to Amazon's number this year. They will not come close because Amazon's leagues ahead of everybody else in terms of the revenue they make. But you will see the Walmarts and the Krogers and the other important folks catch up this year. And the last one was gaming. Gaming, in-game advertising. I know Leena is pushing for a roundtable in our office, which means there will be an upcoming episode on this podcast where we will break down gaming and hopefully bring some actual gamers to
Yes.
talk
Oh my
to.
goodness. Yes. We should get some actual
Absolutely.
gamers. And if you are a gamer and you're listening to us and you have an opinion on the gaming industry, both internationally and
Yeah.
also in India.
Yeah, I game. I do the crossword
Oh, yeah.
every
yeah.
day.
Or the Wordle or Quordle.
Wordle, yeah.
That's casual gaming, man. We are talking about these hardcore gamers who are going to go and like do some esports, live streaming.
Valorant.
Yes, Valorant.
Jitin, Vishnu, Ashwin. There's a
In our
small group
office.
in our office. And I think Jitin went and got schooled. And
I'm so out of it. But,
Has now
but I
gone
really
on
like.
vacation.
I like the. I'm waiting for some VR enabled stuff to come into my house because I can totally see myself getting lost in that. And story based games are very interesting to watch even on the sidelines. But I want something where I can do it, like I can maneuver with just haptics and not some little device. Yeah. So good. That's a good roundup. And I think we have a lot to look forward to 2023. We have been through a long journey in 2022. It felt like 2 years instead of 1. I'm telling you, it's been a really long year. But I'm very, very hopeful about CTV and the fact that there's going to be a lot of cross collaboration between companies, between teams internally. And advertising is not going to be a silo. It is going to be something that is front and center, enabling licenses, enabling subscription, enabling live events. It's going to be at the center of everything. It is not going to be treated as this like the stepchild treatment that has been getting all these years. So I am super happy about that. So festive greetings to everybody and have a great new year.